as we continue to explore the essence of everything that connects to the single point of existence, we begin to notice similar patterns within all pantheons of thought. Before we travel the world, we must explore its mysteries. This is why we have various systems of thought, to explore the mysteries within the pantheons spread all throughout the world, from the Far East, ending in the West. As we continue to connect the parallels and to see how they all influence one another, we begin to develop patterns of code, which we find within every school of thought as we explore the pantheons. This was the job of the ancestors, as it is our job, to simply preserve that which has always been moving and accelerating forward. It doesn't matter how far we look back. Every system, every people set up some type of cornerstone that will remain way past their reality, that their descendants can gaze upon, that contains the DNA codes of activation, because they have spent their entire lives exploring the mysteries. Because again, this is before anything that exists now. So they spent their entire lives dedicated to the mysteries. So when it was time for them to transcend, they left the cornerstone. This is what I have figured out and explored in my entire existence. So the descendants take this information and build upon it, because things will be different as time continues to evolve, and so on and so on and so forth and so forth and so forth. Every generation puts a block upon the pyramid. As we see, there's an emphasis on the individual blocks. Every generation builds upon the pyramid so that the capstone remains activated. So not only was the pyramids serving the purposes in ancient times, and they continue to serve purposes today as portals, interdimensional travel, but these things are considered, you can say, futuristic. But the future has always been in tune with the past. The further you go back in the past, the more futuristic the mentality becomes. So it leads you to wonder, if I go back into the past, as they say, the Akashic records, and you can extract information from the past that will help you evolve towards the future, then how can the future and the past not be interconnected, as if it is one timeline? So at the end of the day, we have entered upon the third month, the month of understanding. This is also the 12th day. When you add the 1 and the 2, you get the 3. This is also 2019. When you add the 2 plus the 1, you get another 3. So we have a synchronicity, or a sequence of 3, 3, 3. We add them all together, we get the number 9. When we get the 9 from the 3, because there's several different ways to get to the 9. So when a 9 manifests itself through the triple 3, we know 3 to not only represent Jupiter, the planet of wisdom, the planet of the Godhead or the Godhood. We also understand that 3 representing understanding means this is the best part of the knowledge and the wisdom that has been obtained through case and study, trial and tribulation. So as information is getting tested, the human body is a laboratory. We utilize our human body as a vessel to explore this physical reality, to gaze and ponder upon the mysteries, as even in this dense physical reality, the law is still prevalent. So even in the deadest part of existence, you can say the human reality is the deadest part. Everything else is more spiritual, more elevated. So because even in the deadest part of existence, the presence of the all can be felt, and you can use that presence and expand upon that presence and become a vessel of that presence, and so on and so forth. You become more aware of your connection to the greater reality or the greater cycles. When you become aware of your part, your path in the greater reality, as they say, your path or your destiny, your fortune, your fate. When you become aware of your higher fate, your holy guardian angel, your higher self, then things become more, you can say, slower for you. You begin to slow down and truly ponder upon the mysteries. You begin to take an extra step towards building your cornerstone and really understanding what you will leave behind for not necessarily just your tree, your family tree, but the family tree for all to explore. So at the end of the day, because it is the 333, we know that this is also the number of the ascended masters. This comes from Helena Blavatsky. She was the first one to use that word, the ascended masters. As she says, she channeled information from the ascended masters to scribe her writings. Again, this is the 19th century, which this phenomenon was happening all around the world. People all around the world were getting channels of information and scribing them into books all around the world in all languages. So in the 19th century, you could say the cornerstone of the occult was laid down. So the further you dig into the mysteries, you realize that I have to learn more languages because there's certain information preserved in certain parts of the world that you really can't unlock unless you learn the language or you have a translator. But it can't just be a translator. The translator has to be a seeker of the mysteries to look at it with those magic eyes that you look at it from, versus just words being translated from one language to another language. So the deeper we go into the mysteries, again, it will take us all around the world because every part of the world has preserved a certain portion of the mysteries. Because every part of the world has preserved a certain portion of the mysteries, we study what has been preserved and we unlock those DNA codes because we are a combination of all these manifestations. The ancestors, again, all had their path. We exist in the 21st century, again, the 2 and the 1 going into the 3. We exist in the century of understanding. We exist in a century where we have combined the alchemical number. Jupiter is also about alchemy, about chemistry. It's time for the chemistry to come together from all pantheons in the world into one science, as they say, a global religion. This is essentially what the age of Aquarius is all about, and all this new age information. This is essentially merging the East with the West into one global religion. So we understand that chemistry and that alchemy of the one global religion, which has been termed New Age. Before it was New Age, it was New Thought. Before it was New Thought, it was Transcendental, so on and so forth. Before it was that, it was, Hermetic law, so on and so forth. It is a combination of everything that has come before it. So these cornerstones, these individual bricks that we continue to build, all serve a purpose in the grander scheme of everyone's personal pyramid. This is why the pyramid is the most powerful symbol, as it's not only a portal, it's also a spiritual tree of existence, of emphasizing every individual block. because once again, they still can't. The mysteries of the pyramid have yet to fully be unlocked. This is what gives us a path into the past, so we can explore, okay, well, what were they doing in the past? Okay, I see that they were building pyramids that we have yet to fully understand. So obviously, their minds were more futuristic. They were in tune with the stars. They are interconnected with the movements of the stars. So they had knowledge, so not only above, but also below. They were travelers of the seas. So, okay, everything that we're doing today, it was already done. It was just done in a more way to emphasize instead of everything being mechanical, everything was natural. That was really the only difference. You just had natural elements versus artificial elements. Everything wasn't mechanical, everything was more natural. But essentially everyone was still doing the same thing. Wi-Fi, electricity, everything that's happening today has been happening. There was no such thing as a people not having access to all of the elements of nature. But then the question is, well, how did they discover that information? How was that information discovered? If these people were primitive and, jungle or tribal people, this is where the theory of aliens comes from, because there had to be some type of extraterrestrial influence for primitive people to have such futuristic knowledge to be able to accomplish things we still have yet to figure it out because it's so complex. But at the end of the day, when you become a scribe or a messenger for the all, it's the cornerstone of the foundation you lay is laid to forever be gazed upon. You can say the Mona Lisa will forever be a symbol of beauty. It don't matter what time period that we're in. That's a timeless piece. The pyramid is a timeless masterpiece. The Eiffel Tower is a timeless masterpiece. Stonehenge, so on and so forth. These are these are timeless masterpieces for us to forever gaze upon. Every generation will forever gaze upon these timeless masterpieces. This is why they remain here, for us to go around the world and to gaze upon these portals as we go to places like Egypt or Kemet, go to places like Paris, go to places where this alchemical thought and existence was heavily influenced, heavily contained and compressed. Places, again, such as France, Spain, where all types of thoughts came together and they blended together is what we call Paris, France. And that was, you can say, the apex of alchemy. When we do the history, we understand how things and people come together to formulate something new. This is why I say you really don't have to go past the 19th century, because the New Age information, the cornerstone of that was laid in the 19th century. So you really, anyone who's a seeker of the mysteries, you really just have to study the 19th century, what happened in it, and also the people and what their cornerstone were or was. What foundation did they lay? Everything was really embodied in the 19th century, and everyone who comes out of that, who was of notability. They laid the cornerstone, and it's for us to study these cornerstones because they all have their own particular way of viewing things, and they all have some type of interconnectedness within them all. So yes, they are separate. They may on the surface be different, but the inner components within them all share a commonality, and that commonality is what we call the law. The law can be found all over the world. Based upon where you are in the world, that will determine your religion. If you are in a place of the world that's more dominated by silver, that's going to influence the culture. If you are in a place that's more dominated by gold, that's going to influence the culture. Depending on which metal and which natural resources you are around, that's going to influence the culture. That's going to influence what people eat. That's going to influence the weather. That's going to influence how things are done, depending on the climate and the environment. This is why we have a variety of religions and schools of thought, because they had to adapt based upon their environment, based upon the natural resources that they were surrounded by. So we understand this has forever been going on. We truly don't know how old this earth is, how old this universe is. We throw out numbers, but we truly have no idea. We have no idea how old that pyramid is. So at the end of the day, the fact that we still can ponder upon things that have been around literally for millions of years, we still gaze upon these things as the wonders of the world. We understand that there is higher, grander things going on that we have been thinking, in the sense of, we have an artificial reality that we call the Matrix, then we have a lifestyle outside of the Matrix. We have a lifestyle, because as I always say, if Egypt was at its apex today, people wouldn't even go there. It would be too frightening for you to see those tall monuments and statues of these dark gods. It would be the energy would be too exhilarated, it would be too electrifying for the average person to even exist. So you had to be of a certain frequency just to exist there. It's like an entirely different dimension, because it was created to be that. You had to adapt to that frequency. So people didn't just live there, you had to adapt to a certain lifestyle, because that was the only way to levitate above that gravity that existed there due to the climate. When we create energy grids, it will influence the culture. So when we understand the energy grid, we will understand the culture. When we understand the culture, we know the commonality between them all, and we understand that we are the apex of that commonality. We are the current generation that's supposed to utilize all of this past information in a futuristic way. Because that's exactly what they did. They studied the stars, they studied their ancestors, they studied time, they studied physics, they studied space, they studied mathematics, they studied all of the tools that they had around them, and they got to the apex of their understanding, and they left their cornerstones. This is who we are, this is what we did, and this is what we left for you to study, for you to understand, for you to take that same mathematics and apply it to your current reality, so that you leave your cornerstone of existence. So that's today's message. 333, the sequence of the Ascended Masters. Peace.